All right, guys, you guys asked for it, so here it is. This is one of the top 5 most scariest moments of my life. And I'm in Taika's room because I need room to perform what the hell happened. And this is the only place in the house where I can move around so I can show you what happened. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, the last couple of months, I've been trying to get my scuba certification, right? And because I'm a busy person, I can't just knock out all 4 days in a row like how you're supposed to. I'm breaking them up. And I'm doing it with my cop buddies who need the official certification so that they can become a Los Angeles Sheriff's Department diver. For me, I'm just doing it for fun. But because it's always been a bucket list thing, for me to get my dive certification, I'm like, cool, let's do it together. My fitness is pretty good. My conditioning is pretty good. I swim pretty good. And I've also been in the military and we've done a swim qual. So in the Marine Corps, we have levels all the way up to swim qual 1 and I've done that. So I'm actually pretty comfortable in the water. But what happened on the second to last day of the certification freaked me the fuck out. So the first 2 days of scuba, you have to do a bunch of drills inside the pool under 10 to 12 feet of water. And I saw people freak out even then because you have to take off your mask. You have to clear the mask when you're underwater. And when the ice cold water hits your eyes, people freak out. They want to jet to the surface. And there's another thing where all of the students are lined up next to each other. And then the instructor goes behind each student and randomly turns off tanks. When you turn off the tank, you have to be able to immediately go, oh! It's almost like getting choked out, but you have to stay calm. Go to the student next to you, let them know I'm out of air. Can I have your air? And you have to learn sign language because you can't really talk underwater. Then they give you their extra regulator. You breathe and you Roman handshake each other so you don't get pulled apart because there is current underneath the ocean and you slowly swim to the surface. So there's a lot of emergency protocol in case shit happens, right? And all of those things, if it's your first time running out of air in a very claustrophobic environment, it's pretty scary. But I was able to overcome most of those things. I do feel anxiety, but as long as I was able to deeply breathe in, breathe out, not to fight the water, not to focus on how cold it is in the pool because it's not a heated pool, and not to let my last breath be my last breath. Like when I feel that, I'm still like, wait, so I still got a good 60 seconds because I can hold my breath for 60 seconds. So just stay chill, talk to my person next to me, hey, I'm out of air, instead of freaking out like some of the other students did and jet to the surface. So I was able to accomplish all of that. Then on day 3 of the certification, this is when shit gets wild. So on day 3, we had to repeat everything we did in a pool, but in the ocean. And in the ocean, it's way different because now you have hella current, right? And in the pool, it's crystal clear. Like I can be all the way over here, and if you're where you're at, I can clearly see you. The place that we decided to go diving at to get this day 3 out of the way was literally the murkiest water I have ever been in. It was pretty much on a bay, next to a bay where all of these boats would park at. And when I'm in this water, if you're arm's distance away, you're already completely gone. If you're elbow's distance away, I could barely see you. You have to be this close to my face for me to be able to see. So, but we didn't know that, right? When you're at the surface, there's a ton of light going into the ocean. It's actually kind of transparent the first 3 or 4 feet. So our instructor was like, hey, I have my buoy. There's a rope that goes down. We're all just going to follow that rope down. And as long as you hang on to that line, we know where we're at. And I'll continuously check to make sure that all the students are with each other. So I'm like, okay, cool. So me, I always like to do things first because I like to get things out of the way. So the instructor goes down and he goes, who wants to go next? So I'm like, I'll go next. So I wait a few seconds. I see the instructor's bubbles start to disappear. I'm like, cool, it's time for me to go down. I start going down and I hold on to the rope, right? And the minute I go past 3 or 4 feet, this is when I notice how dark and murky it was. I'm like, wait, where is the instructor? I don't even see him. And then I look up and I barely see the other 2 students, my 2 cop buddies. So I'm like, Holy fucking shit. I'm the only person in this big ass ocean on this line. So I started freaking out a little bit, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna pull on this line as hard as I can so I can go down and stay behind the instructor. So I start yanking and muscling the fuck out of the rope, right? What ends up happening is I pulled my instructor all the way up to the surface. This fool came up like this, and he goes, yo, Bart, you pulled me all the way up to the surface. And I was like, oh, my bad. I thought the line was anchored to the floor. And he goes, no, I swim out with this buoy. I just drop the line. So you got to ease up on the rope. And I'm like, oh, shit, okay. So we decided to go back down again. This time I let him go down. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to slowly descend. And you let out all the air in your BC. So I slowly go down. And this is where it starts to get really scary. After about 20 feet, it's pretty fucking dark down there because it was so murky that I can feel my hand on the rope, but I can't even see my hand. Can you imagine that? Imagine being in a thick-ass sandstorm where you see your shoulder. Once it gets to about here, it starts fading. So I know I'm touching the rope, but I can't even see my hand on the rope. So I'm just slowly descending by feel. Slowly, trying to keep my breath. Slowly get down there. And then once we get down there, I knew that the mask off drills, the air tank drills, and a bunch of other tests, I think we have to do 3 to 5 skills tests. We had to repeat those exact same things in the pool, but in the ocean. But the whole time that I was going down is in the pool, the instructor will signal to you what we're going to do. So like, let's say if it's your turn to do the test, he'll go up to you, make eye contact, and go like this. You'll have to go, hold on. It's the mask off drill, and then when it's your turn, he'll point at you, and then he'll look and make sure that you do it. You take off the mask, you clear it, maybe completely take it off, do whatever. And then once you do it, you put it back on, he'll shake your hand and go, okay, cool. And then go on to the next person. But have you noticed that at this whole point, you're slightly arm's distance away from me, right? And that's because we could see each other. But when we were in that murky ass water, I couldn't even see the instructor if he was at my elbow. I need him to be here. So when I was going down, I'm like, all those thoughts are in my head. I'm like, wait, how are we supposed to do these drills if I can't even see the instructor? I can't even see my classmates. I can't even see myself. When I look down, anything past my rib cage disappears into darkness. Anything past my shoulder disappears into darkness. I'm like, I can easily be down here by myself for hours, or all of us could get lost. So I was just thinking, fuck, this is really, really fucking scary. I feel like I'm all alone. If you guys ever been in a sensory deprivation tank, this is probably what it feels like, except you're breathing out of a straw. Imagine being in a sensory deprivation tank, completely dark, breathing out of a straw. And now when I finally hit the bottom of the ocean, I'm like, okay, thank God. There's some sort of stability that I can ground myself to. Then the current starts happening. So there's this surge or underwater current. And this thing, I'm still holding on to the stream, by the way, because I'm fucking scared, right? This thing starts pushing me up and down. Like, my knees would come up from here to here to here. It starts swinging me around to the point where I'm like this. And I'm like, what the fuck? And you, without a sense of direction and up and down, you don't really know where to go. So you don't even know how to correct yourself to stay, like, the right side up. Later on, when I surface, they're like, next time you're caught in a situation like that, follow the bubbles. The bubbles will always go up. But I didn't know that. So I'm just like, holy shit. I'm just fucking swinging around. And then I was like, you know what? As long as I have air, I'm good. I'm alive. So I was just going like this. Not seeing anything, barely able to see myself. And then I told myself, hey, you know what? If I'm down here, I looked at my watch, got my Rolly, by the way, which is originally a dive watch. I was like, if I'm down here for 5 minutes and I don't see a single soul, I'm gonna go up to the surface because this is fucking scary and this is how people get lost and die. So I'm just like down there trying to maintain my bearings, breathe in a meditative state, big, deep breath, and finally someone comes up to my face, grabs my arm and goes like this. This is the dive signal for let's go up. So I'm like, oh fuck, thank God. So he goes like this. I slowly go to the surface. When we get to the surface, I was like, holy shit, was that scary? My cop buddy, who has seen the craziest shit in the world, because he patrols some of the hoodest of the hoods in LA. I'm talking about he goes to murders, shootings. He's seen people get completely cut in half by kayaks in the harbor, because he also patrols the harbor. He was like, yo, I was about to bitch out. I didn't want to be the first one. I was waiting for someone else to bitch out, and then I was going to follow and say, hey, I was checking up on that guy. So even for him, it was fucking scary. So for me, I was like, dude, being down there, I was like this close to having a panic attack because you couldn't see anything and you're completely discombobulated and you're thrown all around. And the only thing that I can think of is I was like, during the pool test, some guy quit. So I know what it looks like for someone to quit and then leave with their head down and all that. And I'm like, I ain't gonna quit because I don't want to go home and tell Ma Bear that her man fucking quit on this shit. So I'm like, I don't give a fuck what happens. I'm gonna quit. So that was like my motivation to stick it through all the way. And then afterwards, when we talked to an instructor who's a master diver, we're like, have you ever been in any situation murkier than that? And he goes, I've never been. That was the murkiest it's ever been. So that was fucking scary. And that day, I was like, man, like when you're at that moment where you're questioning life or death, that's easily top 5, one of my scariest moments, because the only thing that's keeping you alive is this little straw that has oxygen in it, and you're 30 feet below zero. And it kind of reminded me, 30 feet, below sea level. And it kind of reminded me of a gas chamber in boot camp, which is also pretty fucking scary. And if any of you guys have ever done the gas chamber, it's pretty much like pepper spray, and they kind of vaporize it into this big ass room. So all the recruits come inside this big ass like empty warehouse looking thing. We're all lined up. Everyone has a gas mask, but eventually you have to take it off and take a big breath of the gas, and you can see little gold sparkles. Because what they do is they get it's pretty much like, imagine like a concentrated pepper spray, like incense, and they light it and it goes into the air. So as soon as you breathe it, it's the spiciest, hottest thing you've ever experienced. And if you've never been pepper sprayed, you probably don't know what it feels like. But we're all just there. You can see all the gold dust. Once again, kind of like sandstorming. You don't know what's going on. Everyone's lined up against the wall. And then when it's time for you to take off your mask, you take it off, and everyone's just trying to hold their breath, but you have to know what it feels like. So you have to take in a breath. You take in a breath, and immediately it feels like 1,000 needles going into your lungs, and you're like, ugh. You just see people dropping left and right, boom, boom, boom. You see people run for the door, and the drill instructor clothesline the fuck out of them, and you're just like, what the fuck's going on? And you're like, people are running for their lives, and I'm just like, people start throwing up. And it's just like when you're pushed to that limit where you're like, why am I here? How am I going to survive? That's what it felt like in the ocean. I don't want to scare anybody, because in the day after that, I had one of the best dive experiences of my life. But I'm actually grateful that I went through something so scary, because every other situation after that was a piece of cake. And it gave me so much confidence to the point that on my last day of diving, I was down to do the skills test and everything while manipulating a camera underwater. Like, that's how comfortable I got. I was like, dude, if I can do that, I can pretty much like drive and text at the same time. So I was really glad I got that out of the way, because if I would have had perfect conditions, then out in the real world, sometimes you don't know what the water conditions are, and then you might actually face a huge challenge. But I'm glad I was able to face a huge challenge with the instructor next to us, so I know that's as worst as it's ever gonna get, even with all of his hundreds and thousands of hours of dive experience. So that was one of the scariest moments of my life, easily in the top 5. And yeah, I learned a lot from it. But that's why I like to put myself in these situations, because you get to learn a lot about yourself, when you push yourself to the limit.